Shortly after the release of the Resident Evil remake in 2002, Capcom would release its prequel that same year. While under different direction, Resident Evil 0 would introduce the catalyst of the mansion incident and help shed light upon the events that would form the story of the entire series. Taking place just one day before the mansion incident, Resident Evil 0 follows Rebecca Chambers of STAR's Bravo team as her and military prisoner Billy Cohen become entangled in an attack on Umbrella. The initial setting aboard the Ecliptic Express takes a bold departure from the sprawling compounds of other titles. While more linear, the cabins of the train still manage to provide an eerie and claustrophobic atmosphere. Its elegant linings breathe life with simple yet effective animations when the train gains motion, hurling down its rails in a torrential summer storm. As the story progresses, the duo will be allowed to explore a larger, more interconnected environment more akin to the series' staples. While the environments are effectively spooky and well-detailed, the sense of dread, helplessness, and morbid wonder aren't quite up to the level that the remake achieved. The camera isn't used as intelligently, the music isn't implemented as well, and it just feels like it's missing something incorporeal that the original was able to capture. In a unique attempt, Zero does manage to break the well-established mold of magic inventory chests and absent-minded antisocial reclusive survivors with its item drop and partner system. You'll be able to control both Rebecca and Billy simultaneously, or choose to have them separate and switch between control of the two to solve puzzles or generally make progress. While the system can be clumsy at times, as the two can have some collision problems, it manages to prove capable and permits some intriguing puzzles. While the lack of inventory chests adds a new level of strategy to the series, it can cause for some tedious backtracking if not handled well. Establishing a well-traveled, centralized room as a bank to drop things off will make things significantly easier to find later down the road. To compound this, the two characters only have 6 inventory slots, each with some items taking up multiple spaces. The movement is identical to the remake, and the overall difficulty of Zero is as high as any other entry of the series, if not among the hardest. While the run-of-the-mill zombie poses little threat in comparison to the remake's formidable walkers, the more advanced organisms will display durability and aggressive nature unseen in classic format Resident Evils. The bosses tend to be a highlight and will require an ample amount of preparation before encountering them, with the Proto-Tyrant being a standout in its service towards enhancing the foundation of the Resident Evil lore. Unfortunately, this isn't done nearly enough, as the bulk of the story is poorly handled and provides the occasional glaring inaccuracy. The explanation of the origins of the outbreak comes off a bit weak, with an antagonist that feels like it was ripped from Code Veronica. The exchanges between Birkin and Wesker are far more interesting and don't seem to be touched on nearly enough or incorporated into the actual game outside of their cutscenes. The majority of the story seems to be happening in the background without any involvement from the protagonist, making the choice of character for the game a bit arbitrary and nonsensical considering the events that take place immediately afterward in the remake. It would be hard to guess that the Rebecca shown in Resident Evil 1 was a hardened veteran who had already gone through so much and fought directly against creatures that present a far greater threat than anything in the mansion. In addition to this, there are a few errors in the geography presented as it is in the game, as the marshalling yard from Resident Evil 2 is directly on top of the secluded training facility. For fastidious fans of the series, there have always been inaccuracies between areas of each game and approximate location to one another, or representations of the exterior of buildings differing from what's possible with the interior. But this is the most obvious error of this type for the series and also affects the location of an area used in multiple titles of the series. Resident Evil 0 had the misfortune of coming out right after a superior entry of the series. It seems to have suffered a bit without the direction of Shinji Mikami, but still manages to be a great survival horror title. It took a few risks in introducing some mechanics that didn't necessarily improve or hurt it, but it served as a template for where they intended the series to go in cooperative future titles. The title poses a significant challenge to this day for fans, and while it has much of the same great things that made the remake such a remarkable game, it just doesn't do them all quite as well. It still holds its own as one of the stronger Resident Evil titles, presenting a form of entertainment that can't be found in the releases of today. If you're a fan of the series and haven't played it yet, it's certainly worth checking out. Or if you're like me and you haven't played it since its initial release until now, it's worth a revisit.
Excuse me, sir. Sir.